Welcome everybody to the Fantasy Golf Insider webcast and podcast. I'm Jeff Bergerson, joined as always by my partner, Zachary Turcotte. We are back and better than ever, Zachary.
How'd you enjoy the off season?
It was, oh man, long break.
Get away for a while, relax, just clear your head of golf for a few days.
That's right. We are with FantasyGolfInsider.com, your number one resource for fantasy golf and DFS golf. Come check us out. If you are not a premium member, become one today. Zachary, we have so much to talk about tonight. I don't know how we're going to cram it into like 30 to 40 minutes, but we shall try. We have the kickoff of the 2016-2017 fall golf PGA season.
Buzz around that.
There is.
Right
There's
away.
a lot of buzz.
I mean, welcome back, Tiger, and goodbye, Tiger. I mean, it was.
What was your favorite Tiger memory?
I remember getting the prices out and texting like 5 people. Oh, he's 8,800. Look at this. He's 8,800. I just fucking withdrew. It's all over. Our hopes and dreams of some excitement for this first tournament are already squashed a little bit. I saw Jason Sobel had gotten to the airport and was making a U-turn to go around back home. He was so excited for this event. He was literally going there to cover one individual player this week, as I'm guessing probably about half the media out there probably was. I mean, I don't get it. Friday afternoon, you have to declare in or out, in or out. And he declares in, and everybody's going wild. Oh, he's in. He said he was playing. That's kind of your moment where you declare you're in the event the next week. Why not just don't declare at that? But did he really need to think over the weekend?
Ticket sales, sponsors,
I suppose.
Money.
That's pretty well lined up before that point,
I don't know.
I would think. Though.
Yeah, but if he maybe he had no intention.
Just 2 more days, give it that much
I don't
of
know.
a kick. So whatever. He did say he plans to play in the Hero World Challenge. So
look forward to December.
Yeah, and that's always such an exciting event as it is.
All 20 guys.
I look forward to Tiger taking 18.
Yeah, right.
Right there at the bottom among that group of stars. So yeah, it'll be exciting in a couple months, maybe.
Something to look forward to.
I suppose. I don't know. So a little bit of a letdown on that because that was kind of the kick in the pants we were going to get. At least the first 2 days we were going to have something to watch and tweet about and be pretty excited about. And it's a pretty good field, actually.
I like the field. I think we're back to the cut sweats on Friday, which is exciting. Full field action.
A lot of young players coming on.
Absolutely.
Web.com. We just posted, before I have a cocktail here, we just posted a couple of things. We posted Keegan's last write-up on the most recent event, the Nationwide Children's, which is a couple of weeks back. The Web.com, the championship event actually got canceled due to the hurricane, the weather, so that was pretty crazy. But we just posted today a preview on 11 of the top players coming from the Web.com tour over to the PGA tour. So if you're seeing a lot of names,
gotta know them.
That if you just haven't followed that event, or if you haven't followed Keegan's column for the last couple of months, just take a quick look. It just covers those guys briefly over a couple of paragraphs each, a little bit of a write-up on who they are, what they've been doing recently. It's going to help you out a lot because ownership on these players is going to be really low. So some of those top guys, we're going to get 2 or 3 weeks where nobody's on them. And it's a little bit of a risk for us, but if they've been playing well and they have a little bit of experience, some of these guys have played on the tour before. Some of them have just played a handful of events. A couple of them have actually done pretty well in majors in the past. You're going to have just a little bit of an advantage in terms of diversifying your teams this week. So definitely be sure to check that out. And if you have any other questions on that, be sure to buzz Keegan because he's more than excited to talk to folks about the Web.com tour.
So we'll get into the Safeway. We also got some NFL football that we're going to talk about a little bit. Your lineups are basically printing money. So
it's been really good so far. I take a ton of time in football. What's nice with football is that it is much more predictable week to week. You know that you can pretty much, outside of injuries, but you even get withdrawals or missed cuts and things in golf too. So that's still out there. But outside of injuries, football, I feel like, has been pretty good for us to research. You're much more of a GPP specialist. I am primarily a cash game specialist. So everything that I do within the article week to week is just minimizing mistakes.
Although it was funny this week, I texted you because I put together my Sunday cash game and submitted it. And then I looked at your write-up and discovered that it was the same exact cash game team. So right then I was like, oh shit, we're dead. There's no way.
It's pretty amazing to be able to pick the same
exact,
9 guys.
yep.
I mean, I would have thought 4 or 5 pretty much for sure, because week to week it starts to fall into a pattern. There's just mistakes you can't make. You can't miss out on certain players.
Right.
Even if they underperform a little bit, it's allowing you to have extra salary to go out and pay 5, 10, 12,000 for whatever Antonio Brown is costing more than every other receiver that's out there on a given week. So yeah, it's just about minimizing mistakes, and so far it's been really good. We've only had, hopefully we'll close tonight, but we've only had 2 losers, and we've played 2 slates every week. So I think if we can finish that one off tonight, we'll be 8-2 so far on the season for NFL. Good. So that's free. That's free every week.
It's free. Zachary posts it, and on the home page, guys, it's on our home page on the right-hand side of it. There's a big picture with a football on it. Just click on that. Takes you to Zach's NFL article each week. We get about 100 questions each week. Where is it? Just click on that. Also, you'll find on the right-hand side of the homepage is an MMA picture.
Yep.
We have free MMA content, our model, our optimum lineups from that every UFC event. Both of those are free to our premium members, just as a way to say thank you for your loyalty. Thanks for sticking with us through the fall when the golf is a little bit slower. We have a couple off weeks. We're giving you a bunch of information, and I've heard from a lot of people who are really cashing in on both of those things, even if they didn't play it much before.
Yeah, it's gone well so far.
A couple other things I wanted to mention is this broadcast is available in podcast form on iTunes and Stitcher. If you guys would do us a favor right now and give us a good review, write something nice, give us some good, give us some 5-star reviews. It helps us a tremendous amount in our rankings and on our search engine optimization. Ranks us up there, and the more traffic we get, the better, more tools we get, more in-depth information that we can get to you as well. So if you do that for us, we'd appreciate it. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, so you know exactly when our video comes out each week. I'm going to be on Pat Mayo this week, so be sure to check that out. We're going to be talking Safeway Open. And we also do the Periscope sessions each Tuesday and Wednesday night.
Jason will be on tomorrow night, and usually he's on around 9 or 10 o'clock, and then I will be on Wednesday, probably about 9 o'clock Central Time or so. And if you guys want, just feel free to jump on, talk Safeway, talk NFL, whatever's on your mind. Feel free to just jump in and keep the conversation rolling for a good hour or so.
I'm going to let you pick where we start, Zachary. You want to start with the Safeway? Does that feel like a good place to start today?
Well, how about, you mentioned, there's been a few things going on over the last few weeks. It's been busy in the world of golf.
Okay.
I mean, we're both out here in Minnesota. Did you make it out to the Ryder Cup?
I did. I made it out to a practice round. But actually got quite a few autographs. I bumped into a lot of the guys, so that was pretty neat. I met Dustin Johnson, Justin Rose, JB Holmes, Snedeker, guys like that. So I got some stuff signed by them, which was pretty cool. I liked being out there. Course was amazing. A lot of people.
Yeah, you're not as a fan of people in general. So I got the first couple of text messages. Okay, so was it?
I find it very hard to follow golf because I just want to watch up close everything happening. And when you're live at events, we've been at them before, some easier to watch than others, but when you're approaching a hole, and especially when you only have a condensed few groups throughout the course, when they're all on 4 damn holes and you got 50,000 people huddled around and you're 10 people deep, you're not seeing a whole lot of stuff.
Anything.
Right?
Yeah, it's tough. It is tricky. I mean, it'd be like if you went to an NFL game and you were only allowed to watch one player on the field. I'm just watching the left guard today. I can't see anything else.
That's pretty much it.
Every 20 minutes or so, I'll get an update somewhere else from somebody else on what's happening.
And you'll hear a roar.
We'll hear a roar if somebody does something.
Happened.
We'll look around and hopefully kind of find something on a scoreboard someplace.
But you were out there.
I made it out on Friday and Saturday, and that was a lot of fun. Like you said, the crowds were just chaos. But and for me, it's hit and miss because I sort of enjoy the environment of the Masters where people are not acting like jabronis and screaming after shots and tee offs and yelling, "Get in the hole!" And I just want to go choke yourself to people who are yelling out there.
It's bad.
You're in the stands, and we're in the stands on the 9th hole, so we can see 9 and 18, and we're waiting for the 5 groups or 4 groups to come through on Friday. So we're just baking in the sun for a good 4 hours, and about across two of the fairways, I can see a little screen with everything that's going on, so you can kind of keep up with everything. And then it finally comes over to where you are, and of course the shots come by the stands, and people lean up, they get out of their chair a little bit, and you just get people behind you who are just enraged that you would possibly step up out of your seat. And there's this old lady behind us. And there's 5 rows in front of us that are standing by this point. So I'm not going to sit down, lady. I'm not going to sit down. Sit down. And she kept doing it. And after a while, people started rather than making fun of the players, they just started making fun of the lady who kept screaming to sit down at everybody in front of us. I mean, it was for the 4 hours that you sit there in the stands, you see the 4 groups kind of come through once. And then you hustle over to 18, and you line up about 10 deep. And if you're at 18, the thing with the Ryder Cup is it might not get to 18.
That's right.
So you're sitting there on 18, and you're looking at the leaderboard that first day, you're like, no,
shit.
no. Well, that's a good 2 hours of time well spent right there when the U.S. got wiped out that Friday afternoon. But overall, it was a lot of fun. I mean, people really do get excited about it. On Sunday watching, it was home that day, as I wanted to watch those matches just live because I wanted to see Patrick Reed against Rory. I mean,
as good as it gets.
It's about one of my all-time favorite golf moments now is when Rory drained that 60-footer.
Yep.
And he's going bananas, and he's got his ear up to the crowd. He was like that the whole weekend. I mean, Rory on the European side, if the Europeans were all upset about the way that the American fans were charged up, well, he kind of brought it out of him. I mean, Rory was pumping his fist and going crazy, and so he was spurring on an already fairly excitable group of people.
Yep.
And then Danny Willett's brother wrote that idiot article the day before or 2 days before the event, ripping on Americans.
What did you expect?
Cultures and customs. Yeah, I mean, you're going to come up to every hole and you're going to get ripped.
That's right.
The whole weekend. And that, which was great because it totally affected his play. It was completely in his head.
I don't know. He's kind of sucky anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, afterwards he was bitter and had stupid things to say about the fans, which I'm sure we won't remember that for the rest of his career now, right?
Yep.
So, I love that. I mean, the matches on Sunday, there were a couple of just great showdowns there with
no, but when Reed hit that
and then
putt,
Reed hit the bird,
he goes like,
he wagged
that was
the
the
finger.
greatest. I already love Reed anyway, but this just kind of,
and he was pumped up the whole time. He just became like America's favorite player after crushing for them in the Ryder Cup. So that was great watching Phil and Sergio battle back and forth. That was great. That was a lot of fun. So it was pretty cool. Without the contests, I wasn't sure I'd be as excited about it because I watched it in years past.
Yeah.
And, U.S. blows the lead, whatever. But I was a little more fired up this year watching it, and especially with all the young stars that the U.S. has got out there. They should be able to compete pretty well over the next few years with the Euros. So I think it's going to be the start of a fun rivalry going forward. So it was a great event. If you ever get a chance to go check it out, I would go check it out, but like Jeff said...
What's that, Whistling Straits in 2020?
Well, maybe I wouldn't go check it out. Maybe just for a practice round, part of a day. They're both tough courses to watch it because you're so far back.
Yeah, that's what sucks.
The thing is, it's real different with golf events because some of them you're right there next to the greens. So you're 10 feet away from some of these guys who are hitting. At these events, you are hundreds of feet away.
Yeah.
And then you get the entourage of media and family and everybody inside the ropes as well.
Yep.
So even if you are on 18, you might have a group of 100 people suddenly pop up in front of you. So it does get to be a little bit painful, but just for the experience, I would go check it out for a day if you haven't, or if you really like Whistling Straits.
Yeah. So, Tour Championship. Another kind of epic ending as well. It was fun to watch. I've never been so confident in a guy winning a playoff, I don't think, as when Rory stepped in, and especially with Chappell as well. You knew he wasn't going to win, so his first tee shot just kind of showed that. But then Ryan shanked his too, and Rory blasted his.
Yeah, I mean, when Rory was there for Eagle on the first playoff, I thought, oh, this is appropriate. This is over. But Moore battled back, kept fighting. And then Rory drained a long putt to save his life on the par 3 on the third playoff hole. So it was exciting. It was a pretty good finish. I had to kind of laugh because DJ sort of reverted to his old self again and completely faded the last day. Shot the worst round of anybody on the course, which was wild because I mean it really took that for him to lose the $10 million in the Tour Championship
That's a tough loss.
He looked so heartbroken when I saw him on Instagram with his wife later on after the Ryder Cup. I mean, it looks like it really will affect his standard of living quite a bit. She'll be cutting back to TV dinners for a while on their budget. But yeah, so it was exciting. The last couple of years have been pretty good with some of the bigger names rising up, because in years before, a couple guys just kind of came out of nowhere. Right. They just made a big run. Billy Herschel just kind of makes a run at the end of the season out of nowhere. I've seen a handful of guys, but now it really feels like the best of the best are there in that final group, that top 5 going into the event, which makes it, I think, a lot more exciting. So it was fun to watch this year.
The other item to note is the King is gone.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Arnie Palmer, a legend of the game. An all-around terrific guy from every account that I read and watch. Everyone loved this guy, and you don't often see that. When people die, they kind of, oh yeah, he was great and all this, but like people rave about him from every line of life.
Sports. Yeah, every sport that was out there, people have like an Arnold Palmer story. I mean,
it's amazing.
You see Antonio Brown is out there talking about, and you think the walk of life of Antonio Brown versus Arnold Palmer. I mean, Pittsburgh is obviously their big connection there, but even still, he's wanting to wear cleats that commemorate the King out there. So I think that's pretty neat that so many people had such amazing memories, and it's sad to see him go because he was such a great ambassador for the game across the board. And it's just one of those old treasures. There's only a handful of those guys that are really still out there. I mean, you've got Jack Nicklaus. It's kind of the figurehead now within golf to kind of carry forward that tradition. So I guess for our shot of the week to the King.
Anything else you want to talk about before we dive into the Safeway?
Nothing coming to mind yet, but I'll let you know before the end of the show.
The Safeway Open.
I know. I love these.
Formerly known as Fries.com.
Wow. You can just hear the music playing for the tradition. It's such an amazing event that this is. The pageantry, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
It's going to be a Safeway for a while now, and it's also going to remain at Silverado Country Club in Napa, California. It's been there since 2014, so we got 2 years of course history to analyze, and we have that posted on the website for tournament history alongside the current form. Silverado is a par 72, 7,200 yards. We got key stats: strokes gained tee to green, with a small emphasis on strokes gained around the green. Strokes gained putting, birdies or better, proximity 150 to 175, and par 5 scoring this week. Now we build these stats into our FGI model every week. So we put the weightings that Fantasy Golf Metrics puts on them. We put that into our model. It's all factored in. But the beauty of our model is, and if you're not using it, I highly recommend you do that, is you can change the weightings however you feel fit. It's completely interactive, and I'm always toying around with it each week just to see what happens to the rankings when you put like when you overemphasize something.
If you just go 100% stats, 100% history, 100% what the odds look like.
And it's pretty amazing what you find, and that's not available, anywhere else in the industry that you can really
where it's that easy to look at.
It's so interactive and good. I'd recommend you use it. I know most of you do, but just to mention that. And it also produces optimal lineups each week based on our weighting. So if you want to see the optimal lineups, Zachary posts those in his daily spin article, which comes out each Wednesday. So that's that. You want to break down some players?
Yeah, decent field here, right?
It's pretty solid, I would say.
It's a little bit tricky in that we don't have that upper echelon group of guys. I mean, there's no top end players. So what ends up happening this week is those guys who would normally be in the 995 range, now they're 11,000.
Like Kuchar and Casey. Yep.
Which, if I'm looking for a cash game, I'm not going to start up top with those guys. I may use them, I may pepper those guys across some tournament entries.
Yeah.
And then grab a lot of the web.com guys who are on the lower end of the pricing scale.
That's my strategy.
And fill those guys in around them for tournaments. But cash games, I probably avoid that top group of guys altogether. So, Casey's been playing great. Obviously, he was tremendous down the stretch.
He was.
In the last few tournaments, second, and fourth. But Paul Casey can never, ever remember a time where 11-6 has felt
no.
anywhere near an appropriate price for him. So, and then Kuchar, yeah, typically he's the price like 5th to 10th highest guy, the second highest guy this week. So he's got to do really well here again.
There was a few tournaments last season where he was one of the top 3 price guys.
That's true. Where he's been like a course horse.
Yep, and none of the times he won. So I don't even know if did he have a runner up in any of those either. I don't remember.
No.
But I don't think so. I remember him not burning you if you faded him.
Yeah.
As the top price guy.
Yep, he's got a couple where he just dominates the course, and there's weaker fields that play on some of those courses.
Yep.
So, you might look a little bit, and Cash, you could potentially start maybe with Grillo won here last year, so I know he'll be popular. I probably would not start a Cash game. The highest I would pay probably in a Cash game would probably be in the John Rahm, Kevin Na range, at that 10,000 mark. I don't really want to go any higher than that just because it's going to start to squeeze me a little bit lower. Kevin Na played better towards the end of the season. He did take second a year ago, and John Rahm has been on fire everywhere that he's played. I mean, his game seems to line up well with most courses. I think he's going to be a stud this year. I think we're going to see him do really well. He'll be that young player who's playing in events every single week, and I think you'll be seeing him in near top 10s almost all the time.
Was this the event last year where Kevin Na in the playoff took driver off the deck and duck hooked it so badly it looked like one of my shots?
That could be.
I think so.
That could be.
Oh, that was a bad decision.
So I think that's where I would start in terms of Cash games. That 9,000 range, there's only really one player in there. I mean, Johnny Vegas has been playing pretty well at 9,100, but that's Johnny Vegas for 9,100.
I get that feeling, that upset feeling in my stomach about that.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely had played really consistent golf, especially the second half of the season last year. And if you're looking at guys who, for par 5 scoring, Johnny Vegas is your guy, and his putting was much improved last year as well. But at 9,100, he's one of those guys in most events. I want him to be at like 7,500 to 8,000 if I'm going to put Vegas on a roster. 9,100's quite a bit to pay, but I think he is definitely a guy that will be in range this week. I think for Cash games, one of my guys who I definitely will be playing will be Brendan Steele. He's a player we love to hate at 8,700. That's sort of the upper end of his price range.
Yep.
Guy who can hit the ball pretty well, drives the ball pretty well off the tee. Really good in terms of a tee to green game. Pretty inconsistent on the greens overall, but he's been pretty good at this event.
Yep.
And it's a weaker field, so as long as he doesn't just lose his mind in one of the first couple rounds, I think he's pretty good. At 8,700, it's just a little bit over the average price.
Yep.
And I think he's well above average in terms of skill sets for this field. So that's sort of the one I'm looking at the upper end of the field there. What are you looking at kind of in the upper end or in that middle range?
Yeah, so the upper end, there's a few guys that interest me. Tony Finau at 8,300. I feel like I prefer him a little bit more than Vegas at 9,100 personally.
Yes, similar style game.
Yeah, absolutely. And then dropping down a little bit in the 8K range. Wesley Bryan's a guy who Keegan talked about in his preview article from guysofftheweb.com tour. We've seen him a couple of times in PGA events. Highly talented guy, very skilled.
Just a super dynamic putter. I mean, the guy's putter was just lights out.
Yep. So I like the price because when we saw him before, actually, and I can't remember exactly what his price was, but it seemed really
way high. It was in like the 9,000. And then what's weird is that this is a pretty weak field.
Yeah.
And this was the sort of field before where he's been at 9,000 or 9,500, and then he burned a few people by missing a couple of cuts or finishing kind of low.
I do think
this is a much more appropriate price point.
I like the price point, and I do think his ownership will probably reflect that as well. Though,
yeah,
coming in because look at Grillo came in.
Those couple
as the guy last year won it. People are going to relate Brian to Grillo.
Those couple appearances helped him. The only thing that doesn't help him so much is he finished the season a little on the cold side.
He did.
Over on the web.com after just dominating it all year with wins and top 10 finishes, top 5 finishes. He's missed his last few cuts. So.
You know what's crazy is I looked at pretty much all the guys who came over from the PGA or from the web.com to the PGA, and a lot of the top guys finished really poorly.
Yeah.
They had a win.
They earned their card, I think.
by a win. Yep, and I can't remember who it was. This one guy missed like 7 out of his last 8 cuts, which was crazy. But I just noticed a trend. Brian hasn't been great, and there were several guys who haven't been great coming in. So be sure you look at the, Keegan's article.
I think a lot of that is just they qualified. They were in the top 25 because that was the big thing before you get to the web.com, the finals, the playoffs, or whatever they call it over there. If you're in the top 25 for money through the year, through the regular season, you earn your card. So those guys were locked in. Mm-hmm. So going to the playoffs, I think a lot of those guys just kind of took it easy, didn't necessarily go quite as hard. They got burned because there's guys who are in desperation mode there right behind them, doing everything they can. Guys coming down from the PGA Tour because they weren't in the top 125 over there.
Yep.
Now they're playing for their life, so they're playing with their hair on fire. So I think a lot of those guys just took their foot off the gas pedal a little bit too. So maybe a little bit of an advantage if they miss some cuts and if that keeps ownership at a normal level, particularly when looking at tournaments. Another guy that I looked at who started to kind of pick up heat near the end of the season, and he's priced a little higher, so I think this might keep people off of him, but Jason Kokrak at 8,100. He was really, 2 seasons ago, he was everybody's favorite guy for like 6-7 events. He just kept making cuts and doing well, and then he just went on one of those strings where it was a make, miss, 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 make, miss, make, miss, and everybody jumped off. And then this year too, a little bit inconsistent throughout the season. Really over the last few weeks, he started to find his form, started playing well, started putting together some top 25 finishes. Coming into here, he's only played here twice. He was disqualified last season. I don't remember what for. That's always funny to go back and look up. Why did he get disqualified?
Right.
But he made the cut the other time that he was out here. He's a guy who I don't necessarily see a lot of people paying real close attention to at that price range, because I think there's going to be a lot of Steele ownership. I think there's going to be a lot of Finau ownership. I think there's going to be a lot of Brian ownership right there. So if you're looking for a guy who may be a little bit lower, I think Kokrak might be a guy that you can look at.
I think Hudson Swafford is a good play at 7,800.
Oh, I think he is the chalk of the week right there at 7,800.
Hasn't missed a cut in 3 months or something?
Yeah, it's like 12 or 13 straight. He's
unbelievable.
He's 2 for 2 here. At 7,800, he's 500 below the average in an already kind of weak field.
Right.
So you have to feel really good about his chances. This week, you got to love him for cash. Maybe not so much for GPP.
Might be
I think for
GPP,
you fade him. I think he's going to be 20 to 25% owned this week.
Yeah, and fading him, he's not going to burn you. I don't think he had any top tens.
No, it's pretty rare that he finishes among the top 10. So you're definitely not, if you fade him and he takes 35th to 40th, you don't care so much in GPP. Who cares? You missed nothing. As far as GPP. But if you do fade them, and this happens to be the 1 week where things go kind of crazy, they go a little pear-shaped for Hudson, which they've been known to do from time to time when we've chosen him, then you're gonna grab a huge advantage over the rest of the field. So I think cash game play, GPP fade is,
I think you're onto
my
something.
take.
That or you're on something, one of the two.
It's this amazing Arnold Palmer. The lemonade portion is starting to kick in. A little bit, so I'm feeling good. But and then dropping down, I think the other big chalk play of the week that we've got there that I will probably look at to roster be Charles Howell III. He's another cash game staple for people.
Yep.
Doesn't quite have, he's made the cut here twice, but one was good, one was not as good. So it's not quite as good as what Swafford has done with a 17th and an 8th. That might keep ownership a little bit lower, and he was injured towards the end of last season, so people may have forgotten about him a little bit. But I think the people who are playing in the fall probably are the guys who are on Charles Howell III quite a bit. So I think he will be a pretty chalky play. So for me, Charles Howell III, he'll be another cash game only play this week and probably a GPP fade.
All right. Dropping down to 7K, 6K range. Some sleepers. I probably won't spend a lot of time in this range for cash games, more for GPP like you had mentioned. I will be doing most likely a stars and scrubs type roster composition this week and take advantage of some of the lower known names, pairing them with some of the big guys and hoping that they can come away with a victory.
Give us one player from the web.com tour that you'll be looking at who's coming over this week.
I'll give you a couple of guys. One was Aaron Wise at 6,400. I like him in GPP formats. Who else did I like? He was the main one. I also like CT Pan as well at 7,400. We've seen him, a little bit of him. We know what we can get. He's a highly talented player too.
He's done well in the U.S. Open. So he made the cut at the U.S. Open.
Yep. So I'm not sure if people are going to be too familiar with him. I don't think he's going to be 2% owned, but I don't think he's going to be highly owned. And I think for 7,400, it makes for a pretty decent GPP play.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yourself?
If you really want to drop down and go low.
Oh, I do.
There is, the pricing range this week cuts off here. What is it, 6,000?
6.
So that's pretty low. But we do have a player who was really hot down the stretch on the web.com tour, qualified late, was Xander Schauffele.
Yeah. So
Xander Schauffele at 6,100 this week. I think he sets up pretty well coming in. He's got a lot of momentum. I'm not going to obviously play him in any cash games this week because I haven't really seen him. He's played, I think, 1 or 2 tour events the last couple of years.
Hard to trust in cash.
Yeah, I think there were a couple people who jumped on him when he came onto the tour beginning of the year, something like that, and he really didn't do anything, didn't play that well, but seemed to really find his form down the stretch last year on the web.com tour. So he's probably a guy I will look at for about 5% or so on my GPP roster.
All right. Shall we leave the rest for our articles this week?
Yeah, there's a few other guys that I'll probably talk about in the Daily Spin.
Okay. Daily Spin, I do by Hardcore Core for GPPs. Be sure to check those out. We'll talk briefly about the Euro event.
DraftKings,
the British Masters.
DraftKings is doing everything they can to kind of bury Euro.
Pretty much.
Right now. Pricing came out around 4 or 5 today. I don't know if you had a chance to look at the big tournaments that they're offering, but
they're pretty pathetic.
The GPPs are just tiny this week.
They're stupid.
They're really, really small. I mean, I think the 300 has 14 people. Right? I mean, the $3 one, I think, has like a couple thousand people.
Wasn't the $27 winning, I think the winner gets $800 or something?
It's nothing.
I don't get it because they're not getting burned badly on it. They fill every
fill
week.
These contests. People like playing it.
It's irritating.
And they're building up. Like these events are going to get bigger as the race to Dubai gets close because November.
For sure.
All the big tournaments happen in Europe, and you get all the stars that are playing over there on those events. But if they don't build up interest right now, then these bigger events are going to roll around, and people are like, oh, there's a big event. I didn't even know. I just quit playing Euro because the tournaments were so big.
Well, it doesn't excite you to have like the mini birdie after the regular birdie fills up, and then the micro birdie, and then the minuscule birdie after that. Have like 4 $3 contests.
Right. Why do I want to enter more than so if I win this, I'll win $200-$300. So let me put 2 lineups in for $3.
I know. Well, I'm not going to do weightings and generate a bunch of lineups for that. Stupid.
So hopefully they'll pick it up. I know it's football season and such.
It is?
Yeah.
I don't know. But still, if you're not filling them, cool. Don't then reduce them. But they're filling every damn contest. So, let's talk about the field a little bit.
Masters.
Last week was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Your boy Tyrell looked pretty good out of nowhere.
Yeah. After he'd had a little bit of struggles, and then he roared back last week to take it down. So it'd be interesting to see how he plays it this year. I know last year he was trying to make a little bit of a bid for his tour card and would have had it if he hadn't just completely collapsed.
Yep.
The second day of the last event that he was in. But it's a decent field this week.
It's pretty good.
This is another. It's the first time that they've played it, I think, at this course.
At the Grove.
Yeah. So that's we don't have much in terms of history to go off of. Really, what we're looking at this week is just going to be form.
Yeah. I haven't been playing a lot of European cash games. Very minuscule amount there.
It's been tough because the European cash games, anybody can miss the cut on any week. I mean, last week up at the top, it was Danny Willett. He looked really good on our model. I mean, I felt like coming off of the Ryder Cup, the energy wasn't quite there.
Probably.
So when he popped up on our model as being, really, really good, and he's going to do well this week, I should have thought a little bit more in terms of incorporating what did we just see. Because I did that with Lee Westwood. Mm-hmm. He was at 8,400, and a lot of the bigger pros that are out there who probably didn't pay any attention to the Ryder Cup because there was no contests around it.
Right.
Loaded up on Lee Westwood at 8,400, and I said, I just watched this guy, and I was actually on 18 when he missed that 2-foot putt on Saturday. And so, I knew there was something deadly wrong with his game right now. So I said, there is no way I'm taking this guy. And he just imploded. I mean, he didn't just miss the cut.
No.
He was like plus 13 or something, just outrageously high after by like the second round. So
I had 0% exposure to him. I watched quite a bit of that event, and he was all over the place. He couldn't control it. But
so I think if I'm building cash lineups this week, which I know I'll probably build a few, I'm going to probably stick to the guys who are pretty tried and true.
Yeah.
Week in and week out. You know, we get the guys like Richard Bland who do well all the time. We get Bradley Dredge who do well all the time. And these guys their price never really stretches that much. So yeah, I would love to put Bernd-Wiesberger in at the top, but he's priced at like 12,000 this week.
That's like Antonio Brown range right there.
It is. It's getting up to make it, because that makes it really tough, because with these British or with these European events, if you have to dig down into the 6,000 range, you're dead.
Yeah.
Because you're going to see a lot of semi or unfamiliar names. Guys who've only played a handful of Euro events, guys who are local guys coming in here for the week and playing their second or third event of the season.
Yeah.
So it gets real tough if you're going to start up at the top in terms of your cash game. So my strategy for the most part is to find probably one star up at the top that I can afford. And then for the most part, I'm going to stick to the middle guys. And I'm always hoping that 5 of 6, usually 5 of 6 will do it.
Right.
It had been 4 of 6. Now it seems like it's been a little bit easier in recent weeks. So 5 of 6 has been kind of the magic number. If you get 6 of 6 in Euro, you're just a god.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like
I have had such a hard time doing it. And on my GPPs, I doubled up last week on my GPPs, which is very good. But
your quote is really
every
good.
single event, I lose a guy either on the last hole, and
something
last
bizarre.
week it happened
Double
again.
bogey, triple bogey, back-to-back bogeys.
All I need was a par on the last hole.
Who was it? Who got you?
Who the hell was it? I can't even remember who it was.
Yeah.
But it was the last hole, and all he needed to do was par to stay at -3, but he dropped to -2 when he bogeys. I'm just like, this happens every week, and I have 5 of 6, and I cash in GPPs, but
don't win the big prize.
Don't win the big one. So.
Yeah.
One of the guys who looked good last week, who was in our optimal, was Florian Fritsch.
That was amazing when that happened, and I actually went and changed mine because and talking to Stack, I said, oh, well maybe you'll probably just change that for Gregory Bordy. So I went and changed Florian Fritsch over to Bordy. I thought, oh yeah, Bordy's been great for us all year, and then Fritsch takes 7th place, which was the difference. Because I was looking today, you're like the optimal cashed, right? I said, well, no, and then I looked, I said, oh shit! It did cash. How to use Florian Fritsch instead of Gregory Bordy? The little circle goes from here to here, and I'm in the green, and I win the money.
Yep.
And instead, I was just out of the money on the optimal lineup on the cash game. So that was really disappointing. So that's why whenever you see whatever lineup pops out for the optimal, we just post it, because usually when I go in and change it, no, I'll just alter this guy here a little bit. This one guy here, I'll mess with that one. That it always inevitably burns us. So typically we'll post that one, and then with PGA I'll put my 2 takes. So I'll have lineups 2 and 3 on there as well. That gives me a little discretion. But you're always going to see whatever was the optimal that was generated specifically from the model.
Yep. Perry will do his European preview article as always. That is up on the site. Also, I do my hardcore core for the European Tour for GPP specialists. Check both of those out. We'll have complete coverage of that event. Anything else that you want to talk about, Zachary, before we close?
Nothing more, man. Just excited that golf season is finally here.
We got 6 weeks.
Finally here, yeah. There's a couple of good events coming up, and the next we get the overseas events. So they head over to China and Malaysia for the next 2. Those are always fun if you like being up at midnight or so. Like I do watching these events. That's always a good time. So there's a couple fun events that'll be going for a while. So
I'm gonna go on vacation in a few weeks, and you can do that with Perry. You can do one of the webcasts, or 2 if I stay, or 3.
Probably a couple. Where do you get to go?
I'm gonna be in St. Martin, which will be. It's
terrible
like
time.
My favorite 2 weeks of the year, where I just don't have to worry about anything besides the website.
That'll be when the most
besides doing everything.
That'll be when the most chaos takes place. And hopefully, by next week, we'll even have like a site update. I don't think we want to give away too much yet, because it's not
It's not done yet.
Not
It's only
completely
been like
updated?
4 goddamn months dealing with web people.
Not that
I
that's
just want to
frustrating.
stab myself. It just hurts
But
so bad.
there are some cool things that we're working on that hopefully will be ready real soon. That a few of you saw when we put it up there initially, and then we took it down. And like, no, it's not ready, Steve. Shh, quiet.
I thought May was a good enough head start for these guys. But
We're almost there. We're almost there. It's going to be a
God.
nice addition, and when we do get it out, it'll be free during the fall because we're only going to have a few weeks to test it out.
get it out by the fall.
Yeah. So
Oh, shit.
something to look forward to.
All right. If you have any questions, email us at info@fantasygolfinsider.com. Follow us on Twitter at @fantasygolfers. That's all we got for this week. We'll see you next week. Good luck this week at the Safeway Open.
Good luck.